Okay, tomorrow night is Shiva Tammuz and the 3 weeks. So let's learn a little bit about the fast day and some dinim that are practical for the rest of the time. Okay, number one, starting Shiva Tammuz. Okay, let's preface it. The Gemara says, okay, okay, you can both do it. The Gemara speaks about. Okay, the Gemara speaks about what's called Shvur Shechol B'Tisha B'Av. The Mishnah Made Cotton speaks about the week of Tisha B'Av. Now, what happened was historically on Shiva Tammuz, let's start even earlier. Asar B'Teves, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Bavel, by the first Bais Din, made a wall around the city, a siege of the city, for 3 years. On Shiva Tammuz, they broke through the wall of Yerushalayim. And then they went into the Bais Din on the 7th of Av. On the 9th of Av, they lit the Bais Din in the afternoon. They put the Bais Din on fire, and it burned primarily in the 10th. Okay, that's why we have Shiva Tammuz is Asar B'Teves is a fast day, because that's when Nebuchadnezzar made a wall around the city. Shiva Tammuz we fast because they broke through the wall of the city. And that led eventually 3 weeks later to the Chub Bais Din. So there's a pasuk in Eichot that says, "Kol Reifei Sigua Bein HaMitzarim." Bein HaMitzarim means between the boundaries. So it became known that from Shiva Tammuz until Tisha B'Av, like this year, it's Thursday. Tisha B'Av is 3 weeks from Thursday, also on Thursday. It's called Bein HaMitzarim. Therefore, it becomes a time of mourning over the destruction of the Bais Din. Now there are stages. The Gemara itself speaks about the week of Tisha B'Av. Shavua Shechol B'Tisha B'Av, it doesn't speak about fasting, yes, but it doesn't speak about the laws of mourning starting from Shiva Tammuz. And therefore, many Sfardim, because that's what the way the Rambam paskins, Bais Yosef paskins, that they only keep what's called the week of Tisha B'Av. No marriages, no music, no meat. It's only the week of Tisha B'Av. Which means, if this year Tisha B'Av is on Thursday, the week of Tisha B'Av begins from Saturday night, before Tisha B'Av. The Ramah writes that the minig, and this is the Ashkenazi custom, that we begin various laws of avelut, of mourning, starting already from Shiva Tammuz. And according to almost all poskim, it begins, even though the fast begins in the morning, Thursday morning is the fast, nevertheless, the laws of the 3 weeks, what's called Bein HaMitzarim, begins already at sundown, Wednesday night. Now, Thursday is a fast day, which starts, as we wrote 4:17, I think, whatever the times it says on the Chabad Weekly, I think it starts at 4:17. It's a long fast, and it ends close to 9 o'clock, or before that a little bit. But it's a long fast. But it's a serious fast because it's talking about the destruction of the Bais Din. Women that are pregnant, nursing, people that are not able physically to fast, there's leniencies about them not fasting. But we have in the morning slichas, and we have Torah reading. Slichas Avinu Malkeinu, Torah reading. At Mincha we have Torah reading and Haftorah. It's a regular fast day. But there's certain minhagim in the Ashkenazi community that begins already starting from Wednesday night. And that is no haircuts, no weddings, no making a bracha shechianu, meaning you're not going to put on a new garment that you would have to make a shechianu for, or you wouldn't eat a new fruit that would make a shechianu on it. Now, most opinions, and that's our custom is also, that applies even on Shabbos of the 3 weeks, which means this coming Shabbos already, although you can't make a shechion on a new fruit, and whatever. So all those dinim apply even, not at a public mourning, but even in the beginning on Shabbos. So primarily, what can't you do in the 3 weeks? You're not allowed to listen, according to Ashkenazi custom, you're not allowed to listen to music. Music means live music, recorded music. There are opinions that hold even singing music you're not allowed to listen to. That the Chassidic world is more lenient about. But in the 3 weeks, you're not allowed to listen to music. Even somebody who takes lessons and teaches music, there's a lot of dinim involved. If it's little kids, they can take lessons. If by not taking lessons for 3 weeks, they're going to get messed up and they'll have to start again or whatever. But generally speaking, there's no weddings, there's no music, there's no haircuts, there's no shechiyanu. Other things basically you'd be allowed to do. You're allowed to cut your nails until the 9 days. I mean, generally speaking, that's just the practical things of what would be forbidden.
Swim.
Huh?
You can swim.
Swim, you could swim during the 3 weeks. Poskim write though, that the day of Shivas B'Tammuz, it means the fast day itself, Poskim write that it's preferred to act like you would during the 9 days. Which means, according to many Poskim, for kids they're lenient, or people that do it for health reasons. But Halacha says, many Poskim write, that you shouldn't go swimming on the day of Shivas B'Tammuz. During the 3 weeks, you're allowed to swim until the 9 days, or by Sephardic Jews, the week of Tisha B'Av. But you're not, that the day itself, even though halachically you can take shower, everything is permissible, even though Shulchan Aruch says Bal Nefesh Shachman, but the minig is not like that. So you have all these things that you wouldn't be allowed to do during the 3 weeks. Now you don't, many people, unless if they need to go to business, whatever, but you don't take haircuts, you don't shave. Women can shave like the hair from the legs and things like that. If you have a mustache and it gets in the way of eating, you're allowed to trim it even during the 3 weeks. It says the Shabbos of Tisha B'Av, you better not. But all those the different types of dinim. For business, there had tatum if somebody must what?
When is exactly the week of Tisha B'Av?
The week of Tisha B'Av is, you want to know the dates? Tisha B'Av is Thursday the 27th. So Saturday night, the 22nd, begins the week of Tisha B'Av. Even in the week of Tisha B'Av, by the way, there's also another act which is Zayin of. And then you have Tisha B'Av. So in other words, we said that they broke through the wall Shivas B'Tammuz. Zayin of, the 7th above, they went into the Bais Din. So because they went into the Bais Din and Zayin of, that became more strict even. And then you have Tisha B'Av. So it's interesting, if you want to extrapolate the 3 weeks, the 9 days in Tisha B'Av, it's similar a little bit to, God forbid, when somebody loses a parent, you have Shiva, the laws of Shiva, you have the laws of Shloshim, and then you have the year. The 3 weeks is like the year. The 9 days is like Shloshim. And Tisha B'Av is like Shiva itself. So we learn the dinim of Tisha B'Av. We'll see all the actual dinim. So, for instance, it speaks about people that need to eat meat even during the 9 days, let's say. The week of Tisha B'Av, they should try to refrain, because that's a stricter week, because that, halacha, the Mishnah clearly mentions about that. The 3 weeks, the 9 days, is a minig that the Ramah brings down from earlier poskim, obviously, but that's what it is.
You don't make shechiyanu on garments.
The custom is you don't buy expensive garments during the 9 days. Everyday clothing you're allowed to buy, but not expensive clothing. Even if you don't make a shechiyanu, it says you don't do it.
So no meat for 3 weeks or only?
No, only the 9 days or the week of Tisha B'Av. No, that meat you can have. For instance, there's a whole question. You can't make wedding, but like you can make a bar mitzvah. According to most poskim, you could do without music. You're allowed to make a party in the 3 weeks, without music. The main issue is music. The 9 days, you have another issue of making parties b'chlal, would be problematic. But in the 3 weeks, you're allowed to. Generally speaking, I'll give you other examples. It says the 3 weeks is not a mazel dika time. It's not a good time. If somebody has to do elective surgery, let's say, you try to avoid doing it in the 3 weeks. It's not a lucky time. People have a minute, they try not to move into a new house during the 3 weeks, unless if they're going to be paying extra rent or whatever. Again, it's not a mazel dika time. If it's not a mazel dika time, people try to avoid during medical procedures, business deals they try to avoid during the 3 weeks. The Gemara talks about Mishenichnes of, when the month of Av comes, then it's a bad month. Like Adar is a mazel dika month. Mamatim b'simcha. But it says you don't try to have a court case with a guy because it's not a mazel dika time. But a marshal person could get engaged. Even Tisha B'Av you're allowed to get engaged. But all these things, I'm just saying, you have to, what?
Not eating meat is only 9 days, correct?
Only the 9 days, or for the Sfardim, it's only the week of Tisha B'Av itself. Then there's issues if somebody needs it for health, and that preferably they should eat chicken rather than meat. But when we get to the 9 days, we'll learn those dinim. Okay, but again, some people say you could dance, but no music. Like a Sheva Brachas. Whenever you have a Sheva Brachas in the middle of... my Sheva Brachas was in the middle of Shiva Sabatam was in the middle of my Sheva Brachas when I got married. So, no, we had to fast. So we fasted before the wedding and then Shiva Sabatam was. But you make a Sheva Brachas after the fast. Yeah, after the fast you make it. Somebody whose job is they could do it until the week of Tisha B'Av to teach music. Just seeing what other practical thing, could talk about this for a long time. Okay, Suda you can make during the 3 weeks. Shechianu, you don't buy new things. Even the night of Shivasa B'Tammuz. It's interesting. Some poskim hold, we don't poskim like that, but some poskim hold, like Wednesday night, you can make a wedding. Because the fast starts in the morning, so that's when the 3 weeks begin. Most poskim disagree, and they say no, the fast starts in the morning, but at night already all the laws of the 3 weeks. So if somebody wants to take haircuts, basically, you got to take them tomorrow or tonight, unless you want to wait 3 weeks. What?
Anything dangerous is only for the 9 days?
It says you don't. I'll give you an example. It says a Rebbe should not hit the students during the 3 weeks, or a father should not hit his kids during the 3 weeks, which means the rest of the year you could. No, not anymore. It says you don't do dangerous trips, you don't do dangerous things. Again, it's not a mazel time. It's not a good luck time. So you don't put yourself into danger, during the 3 weeks.
Flying or cruise?
What?
Going on a plane or a cruise?
Again, if somebody needs to go during the 3 weeks, not an issue. The 9 days would be an issue with a cruise and flying if they can avoid it. But nowadays, even people have to travel during the night. Business that they travel during the 9 days.
Don't we say in Mazel Yisrael?
Yeah, but it's still not a mazel dika time. You still say mazel tov. But there's another interesting thing. A lot of the camps, the overnight camps, they finish. The first period finishes in the middle of the 9 days. Most of the camps, because the way it just works out in the summer. So they have the camps finish in the middle of this. And now the kids that only went for one trip, or they're starting going for the second trip of camp. So what do? They do the dinners. They come home during the 9 days. They come home during the 9 days. They're not traveling for pleasure. They're traveling because they need it. Okay.